U.S.-Iran war escalates, 13th night of strikes as Houthis threaten Red Sea shipping. The war between the United States and Iran is entering a new and increasingly dangerous phase. For the 13th consecutive night, the United States has carried out strikes against Iranian military targets. Iran has continued its response across the region. And now, attacks linked to Yemen's Houthi movement have brought the conflict to a second major maritime choke point, the Red Sea. With the Strait of Hormuz already at the center of the crisis, fears are growing that the war could threaten global shipping, energy supplies, and the wider world economy. This is the latest update from Kulito Broadcasting. The United States launches another wave of strikes. The United States has launched another wave of strikes against Iran, marking the 13th consecutive night of active combat. U.S. Central Command says American forces have continued targeting Iranian military capabilities. Reports indicate that the latest strikes reached locations in both southern and northern Iran. Iranian state media reported explosions in areas including Avaz, Bandar Abbas, Keshem Island, and other locations. Iranian officials also reported casualties in at least one strike. The American campaign comes as Washington says it is attempting to reduce Iran's ability to threaten U.S. forces and commercial shipping in the region. But the latest strikes also demonstrate how far the conflict has expanded. What began as a direct confrontation between Washington and Tehran is now affecting the Gulf, Iraq, Kuwait, Jordan, and major international shipping routes. The question facing the region is becoming increasingly urgent. Can the conflict still be contained? Iran continues its response. Iran has continued to respond to the American military campaign. Reports say Iranian missiles and drones have targeted areas in the region where U.S. military forces are based. The conflict has placed additional pressure on Gulf states that host American forces while trying to avoid becoming direct participants in the war. Iranian state media has also reported strikes and explosions around the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important energy routes. For Washington, the goal is to weaken Iran's military capabilities. For Tehran, the war is increasingly being fought across a wider regional battlefield. Every new attack creates the possibility of another response. And with American forces positioned throughout the Middle East, the risk of miscalculation is rising. The Houthi attacks open a new front, but the latest development may have consequences far beyond the battlefield. Yemen's Houthi movement says it attacked 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea. The attacks have raised fears that the war could now threaten a second major maritime choke point. The Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait are vital routes for global trade and energy shipments. Any prolonged threat to shipping could force vessels to take longer routes around Africa. That means higher fuel costs, longer delivery times, increased insurance costs, and potentially higher prices for consumers around the world. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened what he described as major military punishment for Iran and its Houthi allies if attacks on shipping continue. Iran, meanwhile, has warned that continued attacks against its territory could lead to further retaliation. The result is a dangerous chain reaction. American strikes against Iran, Iranian retaliation across the region, Houthi attacks against shipping, and new threats of further military action. Global energy markets feel the impact. The consequences are already being felt beyond the Middle East. Oil prices rose sharply as markets reacted to the possibility that 2 major shipping routes could be disrupted. Brent crude rose above $100 per barrel, according to Reuters reporting. The concern is not only the price of oil. The wider question is whether ships can safely move through the region. The Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb are among the world's most strategically important maritime passages. If both routes remain under serious threat, the consequences could reach global supply chains. For governments, businesses, and ordinary people, the conflict is no longer only a military story, it is becoming an economic story as well. The big question: a wider war. The biggest concern now is whether the conflict will continue to expand. The United States and Iran remain at the center of the war, but the battlefield now stretches across multiple countries and waterways. American bases in the region are under threat. Iran's military infrastructure continues to be targeted. The Houthis are threatening international shipping, and Gulf countries are caught between military pressure and the risk of becoming targets. The longer this cycle continues, the greater the possibility of a wider regional confrontation.
Tonight, the world is watching 2 critical waterways, the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. The war between the United States and Iran is no longer confined to one battlefield. The next major development could come from the skies over Iran, from a military base in the Gulf, or from a commercial ship moving through one of the world's most important sea routes. The situation remains fluid, and reports may change as more information becomes available. This is Kulito Broadcasting. Stay informed. Stay aware. Stories beyond the headlines.